Good to be with you, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, so it's almost that time, almost Thanksgiving time. And it's good to be with you today. In case you didn't know, my name is Cheston Bolgen. We're going to get started with this just in a few moments, guys. Man, do we have a conversation for you tonight? All right, we have a talk for you today. Some real talk tonight is what I want to say here. We're going to talk about some real things that you deal with when it comes to the end of year business strategy and you wondering instead of winning, and then you deciding to win instead of wonder. Let's go. Before we get into that, guys, this is me, Cheston Bolgen, with By the Books Consulting. This is a company that I founded. We specialize in the accounting, the 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 numbers inside of your business, the number story inside of your business. Really helpful that way. The tax strategy, the tax planning. We deal with like QuickBooks and some of your technology to help you integrate systems in your trucking company. We do a fleet advisory, those types of things we do. You can reach us on the web, youraccountingsuperhero.com. You can also reach us via phone at 888-428-2669. That's 888-4BTB now. You can reach me directly via email at cbolgen@youraccountingsuperhero.com. Follow me on Instagram, guys, at Your Accounting Superhero. Building up the content there so that you have a consistent resource of pretty quality material that you can go through to help level up in your trucking company and your business, no matter where you are. All right, some really great content there to help you get out of life what you want in this area. Okay, and if you have not yet joined this community, your time is running out. December 31st, 2024 is going to be the last day that this is going to be available for free. Some of you guys maybe have seen us on the school network and the Truck Profit Academy. This is a pivot that we've done since October of this year. We've moved to truckprofitacademy.com. You can get signed up there now for free. Won't always be free, okay? But you can get signed up there for free right now up until December 31st. And after that, it will not be free. We'll have the pricing on that in the upcoming weeks. As we go through December, you'll have an idea of what that's going to cost. It'll be a monthly subscription to be a part of this community. And in 2025, like even toward the tail end of this year, we're leveling up in this in terms of delivering some extreme value in here when it comes to mastermind of some of the things that are in the background of your thoughts when you're running your company, like how to put the pieces of the puzzle together to really run your trucking company effectively in a way where you create a new level of ease and peace of mind and a systematic flow to your operation. This is what we're looking to accomplish in the Truck Profit Academy to make sure you can go out here and crush it in 2025 and beyond. And we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about some things that we'll look at when it comes to this. But I really want you to take advantage is what I want to say. I invite you to do that, and it's still for free at this moment in time. Okay, so here we go. And guys, also, if you have not yet taken advantage of this, this is a free profit and cash flow analysis that we're continuing to do. I don't know how much longer we're going to offer this. We started pulling back on it this last quarter because of the amount of people that we continue to work with. It's scaled up. So we're still offering this. You're only seeing it here right now on this call. So if you want to stop wasting time and increase profits and cash flow as soon as today, you can do that by going to youraccountingsuperhero.com/books-and appointment. youraccountingsuperhero.com/book-and-appointment. And you get on a call with me or a member of my team. We'll take a look at your business, your operation, and see, what are you doing right now to help you win, and what are you not doing that's not causing you to win, and what are you doing that's causing you not to win. So we look at those things from a cash flow perspective, from a profitability perspective, and give you an access, okay, to those next actions. So take advantage of that. You can. All right. And now let's go. Let's get into this. Quick disclaimer, the following is for educational purposes only and is not to be considered financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please consult your tax, accounting, and or legal professional for specific advice. Okay. And let's go. Again, today we're actually getting into some real talk, okay, about financial review. And guys, I just want to welcome you again. Like if you're chiming in from YouTube, good to see you. Baxter, I see you're on YouTube tonight, so that's good. I see you, brother, and a few other people that are chiming in. So welcome to this call. And it's the time of year, really beyond the time of year, when we start to reflect on certain things inside of your business to assess whether or not you've actually been delivering and doing the job when it comes to running your trucking company. Some of us do this and some of us do not. Okay, those of us that do not do this are at a disservice, and you're doing it to yourself when you're not doing this. Okay. So I've noticed this in my conversations with people because I have it that I'm pretty clear, and like right now where I am, and I have it that I have yet to be even more clear in my conversation for where it is that I'm headed in business. And it takes a lot to do that. It takes being able to go in and assess what's going on. So we're going to talk about that right now. Okay. What do I mean by that? Two things that we do here. Number one is what I just said is assess. Number two is create. So we're going to keep it that simple. One, assess. Two, let me just take this down. Number one, assess. Number two, create. Okay. So, hey, welcome everybody on the Zoom call. I want to say welcome again. Good to see everybody on the Zoom. And I'm glad that you're with me today because this is a pretty fascinating conversation, and it's exciting to even think about the possibilities that you and I have when it comes to running our business in this way. What I was saying is like, number one, we assess. Number two, we create. Number one, assess. Number two, create. I'm saying that multiple times for a reason is because I wanted to land with you to understand like the simplicity of this, that it gets to be, and then the power of it as well. Okay. So I've been doing this for my business, and I take it for granted that I do this a lot because I get on a call with a lot of people. The people that I get on calls with, it occurs to me as though they're not really present to the things I'm present to when we process life this way, when we do our business this way. Assess and then create, assess and then create, assess and then create. It's like a over and over and over again pattern that we get to do. And it takes something to do that. And the thing that it takes is number one, being willing, the willingness and the execution of measuring everything throughout the processes, like throughout your year and throughout your days, not just going through the motions. One of the things that I see with a lot of people, even inside of my own staff, the people like we have a forest level view of seeing things, like in the forest. You guys hear that, right? When people can't see the forest beyond the trees, right? So there is an opportunity to see the entire forest. But what I find is that the level view that most people I speak with have, like a high level, like a high rate of the people that I speak with, they have this tree level view of things. They're not seeing the entire forest. Okay. Yes, the trees make up the forest, but they're not the only things that make up the forest. The guy's like, what is he talking about? I thought we came here to learn about business. He's talking about forests and trees and all this stuff, man. But hear what I'm saying, okay? Hear what I'm saying for a minute, all right? Because if you and I can actually pick up our scope of vision for a minute to see all the things that make up an entire forest, then we have an access to understanding, like to another degree, what it takes to build that whole thing. What it takes to build that whole thing. So literally, if we were in the creative power, like let's say, that's not a religious conversation, but God, when he created the heavens and the earth, there was a level at which he was able to create that because there are so many details and other things that go into this world other than just what we may see at face value. But if we're not taking account of these things and seeing these things like as they are designed, then we'll miss out on creating things the way that we want to create them. And I'm saying something here, okay? And what I'm saying about this is that You and I will go, especially you in the trucking industry, if you're going into your business each and every day and you're putting out fires, you're just handling your drivers, making sure that loads are planned. You're making sure that everybody has access to what they need, like fuel cards and T checks and comp checks. And you're talking to your dispatchers and making sure they have what they need. And you're just really going through the day and working in your business. Then you are missing out. Because the magic is working on your business. Now, get this, when you work on your business, that's work that you do one time and it pays off in dividends over and over and over and over and over in great scale into the future. See, when you work in the business, it's there. It's like that meal you ate this morning. It's already metabolized. It's done. And you have to do that over again and again and again and again. But when you work on that business, you do the work once and it keeps paying off in dividends. Okay. Now it's essential for us to do that from time to time to understand what that entails. Like what are the actual components of working on the business? And I'm giving you two of these right now. All right. Assess, number one, and create, number two. Assess and create. Assess and create. So hopefully that makes sense. If that's making somewhat of sense to you, and guys, put a 1 in the chat for me, wherever you are, whether you're in YouTube or whether you're on the call here on Zoom. If that's making sense to you, put a 1 in the chat for me, because excuse me. So the idea, the concept here is for you to understand and gain the simplicity that this can be for you inside of running your company. Okay. Thank you guys for putting that in the chat. All right. Now, what does it look like to assess? Number one. And we want to keep this really, really simple. Number one thing you want to do is to understand how profitable, like at this time of the year, really, how profitable are you? That's the question you want to know, the answer to. How profitable are you? You also want to know, are you more profitable now versus last year, this time? Are you more profitable now this month versus last month, this time? And what is that trend overall? Is it going up month after month? Does it trail down in some months historically? And what's that going to look like based on what I'm seeing right now in the future if I keep going this trajectory? Okay. Now you also want to understand growth rates. Well, what are growth rates? Well, it's the pace at which you're growing. So for example, if I went out here and I did $1 million in profit last year, but I'm tracking this year to do $1.5 million. Well, I have a 50% growth rate. 50% growth rate, okay? Because 500,000 is 50% of 1 million, and I gained that over the course of the year. So that gives me a 50% growth rate. It's pretty decent. If I continue to do that, man, like a few years, man, that'd be freaking awesome. If that were the trend all the time. Most likely it won't be, but I can get a gauge if I'm looking at this on, what's causing this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about D, which is what contributed to the outcome that you have. Good, bad, and everything in between. When I say good, I really want to take that out. Not necessarily good and bad, but profitable, unprofitable. Okay, profitable, unprofitable, or profitable, not profitable. We want to create profitability here. Is what we want to do. So if I'm looking at the components of this, and just again, guys, just by assessment here, get a gauge on how many of you guys are doing this, telling yourself, right? If you're not doing it, it's okay. The idea is that now, with knowing what you know, we can take it on to do this. So if you have not been doing this, let's put a 2 in the chat if you have not been doing this. And if you have been doing this, put a 3 in the chat, okay? If you've been looking at everything that I just discussed right here, right now, put a 3 in the chat. If you have not been doing this, put a 2 in the chat, assessing it in this way. And while you're doing that, I just want to give you an idea. It seems like for every 10 people I have a conversation with, 8 to 9 of them are not doing this consistently. Okay. That's just to give you an idea. They don't know. My wife sometimes laughs at me because my clients will call me sometimes when I'm out and about doing something. I'm like running an errand and I'll be on the phone and she's with me and they ask me questions and I'm running off their numbers. And they don't know their stuff, right? They don't know their stuff, but I know their stuff. Right? And I'm explaining to them what's causing, what's driving that. Well, how am I able to do that? And the owner's not able to do that. I can only attribute it to this, okay? We're not present to the impact. If we're not doing it, we're not really present to the impact. So what do I mean? It's like I got on a call with somebody last week and we just started working with them and right, she just co-signed that 100% true. We just started working with them and they hadn't really gotten an idea of what this was, which is typical. People don't know. They have a sort of up in their head thing going on, like specifically, like when I have it in my mind, it's based on concrete data that I've actually reviewed and I've seen. Okay, it's not something that I think it is. It's not my opinion about it or my perception of it. It's just what I'm doing it when I say that, people call me and I give them their numbers. And others, the owners, they have a generalized interpretation or an idea of what may be happening. And that gives me an idea that they don't not present to the impact. So this particular person, it was the same story. They didn't know their numbers. Okay. So we got them to the point where they understood their numbers. And he's like, man, I'm not making any money with this business. I'm like losing money with this business is what he was perceiving. Okay. This is the interpretation that he had based on what he felt. Okay. Never do that. Okay. Never go by what you feel inside a business. Like I won't say never go by what you feel, but you want to have some concretized data to back it up. The only time I would say to go with what you feel is when you're in the mode of creating what that looks like for yourself internally. We're going to talk about that in a second too. Okay. So this guy, we got his numbers up to date and squared away, and we saw it was impacting everything. And guess what? He's making money. He's profitable. His margins were pretty thin. Yes, he could definitely be more profitable, but he wasn't losing money. And he thought he was. Okay. And we could actually register that win because it's the first year in business and he's profitable, which is a win in this industry. Right? He's just figuring things out. But beyond that, guys, inside of this, we were able to identify, well, what is actually driving profitability and what is driving unprofitability. So we picked out 3 things that were driving unprofitability. So we got to take those out. And we got to identify 2 things that would drive profitability. All right. And because of that, now he has an access for 2025 to be a standout year. Because what we have now is an absolute focus. Where there was once mystery, there is demystification, clarity, and then action to back it up. Okay. And I'm excited for his journey because now it becomes a situation where he knows exactly what to do. He's not wondering anymore. He's not given to all the stress and overwhelm around his situation where he's just wondering whether or not he's profitable or he's doing the right things. He knows he's doing the right thing, 100%. And that in and of itself is a great value. If you know what I mean, put a 4 in the chat. Okay, because that peace of mind to know exactly what it is that you get to do every single moment based on you looking at the numbers is something that is very powerful. Okay, and that's what we want to deliver. Okay, now the other thing is if you're not familiar with reading the numbers, yourself, because sometimes that can be intimidating for people. I realize that. So a lot of people I do speak with, there's an apprehension, there's a stress around understanding what the numbers mean. And some people are really good at it. You just give them like a couple of things and they take off and they run. But other people, they have an aversion because they don't want to, they don't want the stress around dealing with this. Guys, hold on a second. Make sure that you can see me. There we go. All right. So sometimes there's an aversion to that for people. Okay. And that doesn't have to be the case. You can have partners. My wife and I had dinner with somebody a few days ago, and they had a different type of business. But this lady and her husband, they were crushing it, crushing it. Number one, it was a different industry altogether, but they had mentorship, and then they had different partners that had different skill sets that could help them move their business forward. It made a whole lot of sense. Okay. So what I want to leave you with there is that the only limitation inside of this is you in terms of what you're able to create in that, like relationships, partnerships, resources, all that. Like it's just a matter of you understanding what you have available at your fingertips to deploy. And in this case, this person, this couple, they had so many really fantastic partnerships that they were utilizing to win in business. So they didn't have to rely on other people's, didn't have to rely on their own skill sets in every single area. They could just focus on what they were good at. And she happened to be good at the numbers, but other people were good at other components of the business, and it really did work. Okay. And they own their business 100%. It's not like they gave up equity or anything to do it. It's just like a collective. Like each person in that organization has their own business, and they had their different skill sets. Is how I have it, how I understand it to be. Okay, and it could look something similar. It look like something similar to you in that. Okay, now, like I said, if you're not really good at reading the numbers, you feel like you're averse to reading the numbers. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All you need to do is know that this is important and to have. Okay. You need to know that this is important, and you need to know that you have a structure. All right. You don't need to, you don't have to, but I would invite you to create that structure so that this is taken care of. And then you have access to certainty where there was no certainty before. Okay? And just like the person I was speaking about who now has certainty into 2025 on exactly what to do. Very powerful. All right. Now, the other thing, guys, that I want to talk about here, once we assess this, now if you're, I want to know, guys, are you really clear? You know, put a 5 in the chat if you're clear on assessing, as we just cleared it up. If you have any questions about that, you can also put that in the chat. But if you're clear on what assessing is, put a 5 in the chat. Thank you for that 5. All right. That helps me. Thank you. Now, just one more thing before we close out, before we move on, we'll close that up. There are certain things that we want to know in terms of assessing. Like I said, growth rates, right? What does that look like? But we also want to understand, well, how are my assets growing? You know, besides the profits, like when I say assets are growing, besides the profits, I also want to know like how the bank accounts are impacted in terms of your growth rates. Like, is your bank account balance increasing month after month, year after year, based on operating? And what is the rate at which it gets to grow month after month and year after year? What about the equity in your company? How much is that growing? And do we even like know what that looks like, right? And the equity growth inside of the company. Profitability contributes to that, yes, but how much is that growing each year? How much are you getting a return on the equity each year? How much are your assets producing each year? Because we can see like there's going to be a moment where it's like on the rise, possibly, and you're doing really well, but then there could be a moment where it's starting to trail off in terms of the rate at which it's growing, and like in terms of like especially with asset performance, like assets, return on assets, and everything. If you are experiencing, for example, if we're looking at this and monitoring it, and we're experiencing, okay, I'm getting a return on my assets of like 25% each year, which means that I can count on like clockwork that, you know, my assets are worth $1 million, and it's giving me like net return of $250,000 every single year, like clockwork, 25% return on assets. Let's go. I can count on it. And all of a sudden, one year it dips to $180,000 in return. like net profitability. It's like, oh, what happened there? Now we can go look and see what's happening. Is it the fact that if something happened with your performance in other areas that are outside of assets, or is it that this asset is underperforming itself? Which means, is it time to swap out assets because it's diminishing now? And when do I do it? Now, all those things can be accessible to you, like for you to make these higher level decisions. Like for one, what I want you to be left with here is the opportunity that it is to understand these types of things so you can make spot on decisions that lead to highly predictable outcomes inside of your business. Like you get this, right? You won't be able to predict every single thing. Like every single thing won't go as you plan. It never does. And at the same time, there is a high probability outcome when we get on the path. There's a trajectory that we can get on. We can ride that wave, and there's a high probability that we'll end up in the place that that wave takes us. Okay? And this is what I want to leave you with here with understanding this, right? And this is what it looks like to assess. Understanding what those numbers are and how your business has been performing inside of these four things. How profitable were you? Were you more profitable this year versus last year? What are the rates of growth? Is it negative or positive growth in these areas? And what are the things that are contributing to the growth and the lack thereof? Okay. Now, those are some really key things. These four things, if you do this, watch out for 2025. You'll have major, major breakthrough if you just get an access to understanding like what the performance was. It'll shed light and it'll give you new actions. And the main new action it'll give you, the main new action that it will give you is number 2, creation. We call it setting the intention. Okay. We call this setting the intention. So what does this mean? Okay. It means that we want to identify the ideal outcome you want for your business. Identify the ideal outcome you want for your business. This is regardless of what you think you can have. This is regardless of whatever limitation you may think you have inside of you on your ability to create this for yourself. It is only required that you know exactly what you want, period. What do you want? What lights you up? Where are you headed with this? What's the destination? What's the real outcome? If you had no restrictions on your ability to accomplish this, what is that destination for you? Okay, this is identifying the ideal outcome. It is the ideal outcome. If you had no limits for your business, what do you want? What lights you up? What makes you feel good? Where in the spectrum of things, when you imagine what your company is going to look like, do you feel it in your chest and deep in your soul that this is it for you? Okay, this is identifying the ideal outcome. Now we coin it like this: it is a future that we get to live into. This is what it is. It is a future that we get to live into for the business, and it lights you up. Okay, this is what you want to do. Okay, now once we identify that, we want to visualize or experience, really experience what that looks like, what that feels like, what that smells like, everything down the line. We want to understand, when we get to that end in mind, what is that like for you? We got cars recently. My wife and I said, a couple of months back, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I said, okay, let's do cars for Christmas. Okay. And before I said that, as a part of my thing, I actually was visualizing like the future that we get to live into like this for our business and the businesses and for life and everything. And I was actually visualizing the car too inside of that every single morning. And I could see this thing clear as day every morning, like more than 6 months ago, every single day up until the point that we got these cars last week. And it made it a whole like crazy experience because I got exactly what I was visualizing sitting in the garage. And when I walk downstairs and go out to the garage, it's the exact image that I would see when I would walk downstairs and go out to the garage in the time that I would spend seeing it on the inside, which is like awesome, right? Now, this thing, we call it's manifested, yeah. And I would like to more so say that it is created, That whole thing that we got to do with the cars is a thing that I get to do in every other aspect of life with business and with relationships and everything else. But specifically here in terms of your trucking company, it is very powerful to be able to see the end in mind right now before it exists out in front of you. Okay. That gives tremendous access to understanding what serves it and what does not. When it shows up, we know what it looks like and we know what it does not look like because we've seen it over and over and over again, even before it was out here in reality. It's already been created internally in reality, but when it comes, when it gets to be like physical, tangible, where we can actually touch it, and like for me, when I go out to my garage and sit in the car, I actually see this and sit in the same thing that I saw before I'm actually doing it right now. Okay. But it gives access to knowing exactly what those things are. That is the power in it. And then the actions will follow suit. Like once we see it clearly, the actions will line up. Okay. And then the exercise that we did before in terms of assessing where we are, it'll carry a whole lot of weight once we have this understood. Okay. Now it becomes a matter of just moving everything forward toward that existence. Saying something, guys. Hopefully this makes sense to you because it could seem like it's out there. It's like some of you may not be in this practice or whatever, or not even believe in this. You know, me, I had never believed in that whole thing before. It took me a while to get there with that. And when it shows, when I actually took it on as a practice, it's like, whoa, like really took it on, like not just kind of going through motions, take it on, but really took it on. This thing actually works for life. To see exactly what it is that I'm creating and then understand every step of the way, does it line up with that, yes or no? And then choosing, okay, to take that next action that lines up. All right. So yeah, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Yeah, really. Experience that whole thing. Okay. Now we also want to make this measurable, right? We understand like, well, what it looks like. So if you're going out here and you're in your trucking company, you said, okay, we got to get to $30 million. $30 million company. $30 million company, $30 million company. What does that look like? Who's on my team? Who's on my staff? What do they say? What do they walk like? What do my drivers drive like? How do they respond to me? You know, what kind of messages they give me when they send back messages that we send, like in response to the messages we send them? What does that look like? How do they show up for work? How are they dressed like? When they go into the yard, how are they walking and how are they presenting themselves? If I'm a $30 million company, really see it all the way through. If I'm that $30 million company, what time do I wake up in the morning? What are my first actions that I take? You know, who do I speak with? What do I do? What don't I do? Which is more important. What do I not do? If I have this $30 million company, who's around me? Who do I speak with every day? Who do I not speak with? Right? Get that clear in the mind so that it becomes something that you can really know what it looks like when it shows up. So when you get up in the morning and it's after the time that that guy wakes up in the morning or that girl wakes up in the morning, that woman wakes up in the morning, then you know that's not it. And there's an adjustment that wants to be made. Wake up earlier, right? That's the adjustment. You already know that, okay, when numbers show up, it's like, okay, this is not the numbers that we want. We want the numbers to be here. What's going to be the next action to get me here? This quarter, this month. What structure do we get to create? What kind of technology do we need to deploy? Who do I need to speak with to get this implemented? Right? There's a whole nother level to the modality, like how you operate in life. Like there's a whole lot of time that gets cut out. It doesn't like the wasted time gets cut out. It's just effective now because now you're operating inside of what you've already seen. Okay, this is the power inside of that, guys. Okay, now we can identify what the gaps are, which is what you just heard me doing, identifying the gaps. All right, where are you now versus the intention? Where are you now in life versus the intention? Okay, now this becomes a great exercise. And it can and it should, and I want it to be empowering for you because there's nothing as empowering as living in that gap. There is nothing in my current, in my experience, as empowering as living in that gap. The gap of, where I am now and my destination that I'm going to. right? I'm pulled forth into that future, and that pull forth in that gap, fantastic place to be. I'm hoping you're getting this, guys. Okay. Now I'm giving you two things. All right. Now, number one, the assess part of this, super important to understand like where you are. If you're not measuring this, guys, I invite you to take on measuring everything inside of your business, inside of your trucking company. All right. Without that, then you're not going to have access to bridging gaps, to living in that gap and moving forward toward the destination. You're also not going to have access if we don't create the destination internally. And let that be the only thing that sits in the recesses of your mind. There is no other thing that wants to be entertained. We call this absolute focus. Okay. Now, guys, it's been great being with you. We're a little bit like over the time that we usually spend on this. Okay. And I really do want this to be something that resonates and it lands and that you take on, especially right now, because the urgency is that there's only a few weeks left in this year. There are only a few short weeks left in this year. Have you done this yet? Are you catapulting yourself forward in 2025? Are you finishing strong in 2024? Have you done this? Right? Have you assessed everything? Have you set the intention? Where are you in the grand scheme of things? Are you measuring things? Are you meticulous? Are you ruthless in the way that you get to measure the outcomes in life that you're creating here in your business? Right? Now, if you're not doing those things at that level, at least at that level, then you have tremendous opportunity here. It doesn't have to be a mystery for you and your trucking company. You can actually go and have the outcome with a high degree of certainty because you have access to taking this on. Okay, that's what I want to leave you with here. So go out here, be great, crush it in your trucking company, crush it in your business, be committed and relentless in your pursuit of mastery in your trucking company, in your business. All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Much gratitude for you, much gratitude for everybody on the call. Hoping that you're grateful for everything that you have in life. And I'm grateful for you. Okay. And I want you to have a happy Thanksgiving, happy holiday, and I'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Chester.